大家给多大概就是多，时间长久就多加了的吧，要到吧，多吧上去就过往人们，这里叫多吧叫，也就是大概去人们就这样呗，过路过去就礼拜三头三班学者。
Cultivate the motivation of bodhicitta, thinking that for the sake of all other beings, I will attain full enlightenment. For this reason, I will attend this discourse.
那在开始呢，听闻开示之前呢，要先启发这个如理的这个发心动机呢，也就是以这个菩提心为发心呢，就是为了要利一切如母有情呢，我要成就圆满的正等正觉，以这样子为发心来听闻这一节的开示。
他在那三家大悲圈呢，他考上的人的话，一点两个就过来，早就这人们就当接受接吧是吧？他在那决定两个就过落家呢，他现在他这个在上去国宝人们就，就是现在他就在国家人民要走国宝人们就做把家务的，他谁接嘛把一般就是接受了，他早就这人们就是家人就一般，他在那早就这人们就是接完了，这把前面老马眼，他这把前面老马眼，这把前面错了这，第二了这，空了这，过了，没了老马眼的，他在马眼那里，这把前面错了这里送眼的。这些错了穷我人全部送来的，他就这人们就是这把前面错了穷我的学吧，他这把前面错了穷我的穷人，他这把前面老人穷不了的。
The subject matter to be discussed today is yesterday we have finished about the sevenfold cause and effect instruction on how to train your mind in the generation of bodhicitta, and then we're finally, after training your mind in the sort of six cause and effect instruction, and then finally when you generate altruistic intention that aspire to get full enlightenment for the sake of all beings, then you have sort of generated bodhicitta, and then if that mind becomes spontaneous or without sort of artificial, if it becomes more like a natural, spontaneous, or more like innate, then you have generated the genuine bodhicitta. So once you have generated genuine bodhicitta, and then out of 5 Mahayana path, the path of accumulation, the path of preparation, the path of seeing, the path of meditation, and the path of no more learning. Out of these 5 paths, the first one, which is the path of accumulation, has 3 different levels. The small part of accumulation, the middling part of accumulation, and the great part of accumulation. So out of these 3, you have entered the small part of accumulation.
我们今天呢，在这边要讨论的这个主题呢，就是我们昨天已经完成了这个大圣7支因果律的这个如何修心呢，以能够修正这个菩提心啊。那从这个修这个6因1果哈的这个7支因果之后呢，就是如果呢你的心中已经就是可以任运的毫不费力的自然而然的就是升起这种为了利益一切有情愿成佛的这种心的时候呢，就是这时候你升起这种菩提心呢是任运而不是造作的，那就是这时候就是真正的升起这个清净的菩提心的证悟的时候了。那如果在这个时候呢，以这个大圣的5道来讲的话，那5道呢是这样：第1道呢是资粮道，第2道是加行道，第3道呢是见道，第4道是修道，第5道呢是无学道。那当你呢升起了这样子的清净的这种菩提心的时候呢，以这个大圣的5道来讲的话，你就是进入了这个第1道资粮道。那资粮道呢又分为这个小跟中跟大这个3品来讲的话，你这个时候就是入了这个大圣的第1个这个资粮道的这个小品的这个阶段。
对，当然早就谁人不就是呢？就是这把呢从这那边去查缺乏的，缺乏不乏的，或者呢 제가 배워다 내가 가서래 이제는 제가 따와 어떻게 저기서 와서 제가 공부 어떻게 기초 가져와 다저 세르면 저 세로 간다 저 세르면 저 세바에서 제 다저들은 저제 전주스면 잡아내겠다 제제 전주스면 잡아내고 아래 선언도 토리고 아래 아 다저 세르면 저 잡아내는 손데 아 돈이 좀 싫어돼 돈이 좀 싫어돼야 되네 그래서 저 세르면 저 세바다 다저 세르면 저 세바에 다저 세르면 저 세바에서 제 이시 토리고 하다 이시 토리다 되네 돈들 다 돈이 잡아고 줘버렸다 돈이 잡아는 거 줘야 돼 그래서 사실 거바도 저되는 돈이 써야 되는 거 줘야
Once you have generated bodhicitta, and then from that onwards, any kind of good action you engage, like prostration, offering, practice of giving, practice of maintaining moral discipline, moral ethics, and the practice of concentration and so on. All these the sort of practices are said to be simba, means said to be influenced by bodhicitta, or in another word, they are supported by bodhicitta. So all these practice are practice that are in conjunction with the bodhicitta. So if this is the case, then all the virtuous activity, if it is practiced in conjunction with bodhicitta, and if it is supported by bodhicitta, then it can be the concordant cause for the attainment of full enlightenment. And then all the accumulation of sort of all the merit, good action, can also become the accumulation of merit. And then from that onwards, you start to sort of amass or earn two accumulation, the accumulation of merit, the accumulation of wisdom, which are considered to be the two most important causes for the generation of enlightenment.
一旦呢，就是修正了这个菩提心了以后呢，那之后有这个菩提心的证悟呢，你再去礼佛，或者是供养，或者是行这个布施、持戒，然后修这个禅定的话，就是因为呢，你所有所做的这些修行呢，它都是受到这个菩提心的影响，是受到这个菩提心的护持的缘故，是以这个菩提心为这个发心而做的哈。那所以呢，这个你这样子种的这个因呢，它将来所结的这个果呢，都是这个成佛的果。然后呢，就是所累积的这种功德资粮呢，就是可以成为就是这个福德资粮啊，就是我们要累积两种资粮，一种是智慧，一种是这个福德的资粮。那有这个菩提心的护持之下呢，所累积的这些善业功德呢，就会成为这个福德资粮哈。这个是我们要成佛里面哈这个两种这个重要的资粮之一。
因为当人家就是谁人不去就是这般呢，真的，他就是谁人不去的，他东西特别喜欢生的，这生出可热身了，他就是谁人不去。我是叫吧呢，东西特别喜欢我是叫个嘛的呢，马娘不要的，马娘不要的，好的，第一出去生的，东西特别喜欢，马娘不要嘛，第一的呢，最早就是谁人不去生要的，东西特别喜欢我是叫吧呢，早就是谁人不去，我是叫个嘛的呢，马娘不要的，这马娘不要嘛，有的东西特别喜欢，咱就生要的，就谁人不去，东西特别喜欢生要的，就说这谁嘛有的，他。就是路上面那个呢，他这早就谁人不去东西谁，就到东西这个知道的，早就谁从这淘气从这下的，他这里就是如果的，这里就是有为啊。
And so not only that, so once you have generated bodhicitta, and then also if you sort of acquire the correct view, the correct insight or the wisdom, understanding emptiness. So the understanding the wisdom, understanding emptiness is also sort of supported by bodhicitta, and the bodhicitta is in a similar way. The bodhicitta is also being supported by the wisdom, understanding emptiness. So here the word simba has to be sort of has to be understood in terms of the fact that a person who has generated both bodhicitta and wisdom, understanding, emptiness, may not generate or may not sort of manifest the bodhicitta and wisdom, understanding, emptiness simultaneously, but whenever he sort of manifest or evidently generate bodhicitta, even though the emptiness, the wisdom, understanding, emptiness is not there in terms of manifesting or in terms of being evident, but it is there in terms of sort of lying down in a low profile, or it is there in terms of not degenerating, even though it does not manifest, but it's still there. The same goes to the wisdom, understanding, emptiness. So when the person is sort of when the person is in the state of wisdom, understanding, emptiness, the bodhicitta is not evidently there, will not manifest, but still it is there. Still the influence of bodhicitta is there. So therefore here the way they each other support each other is the influence is there, even though they do not exist simultaneously on that level. So this is what I mean by the word simba.
不止如此而已啊，就是已经升起了这个菩提心的这个证悟的人哦，那如果呢他也证悟了这个空正见，了知这个空性的这种空正见的智慧的话，那么就是他的菩提心呢也受到这个空正见的这个就护持支持哈，那他又因为有菩提心的证悟，所以他所证悟的这个空正见的智慧呢，也受到这个菩提心的这种护持哦。那所以呢，就是这个菩提心跟空正见呢，就是互相的这个护持这样子哈。那就是一个人呢，他有升起这个菩提心、空正见的智慧的话，那就是虽然呢，他的这个菩提心或者空正见的智慧没有好像时时刻刻表现出来，好像不是有很明显的证明它存在那里，但是呢，因为他已经有这样子的证悟，它就好像是一个好像隐藏的一样哈，它这两个证悟是一直存在的，而且呢，他有这样子证悟的人，他的证悟呢是不退的哈，那所以呢虽然呢看起来呢就是好像。例如说，一个有证悟空正见的人，那他的菩提心好像没有一直显现的样子哈，然后就是不是呢，好像同时呢这样子的存在的，但是这样子的这个证悟呢，就是其实呢它是有的哈，它就是而且就是不退的哈，就所以就是我们讲的，它有像这样子的这个象征像这样子的证悟，然后它是一直存在，它不会退的。
因为当时讲就是生不起马上呢。俺就我些原来听过嘛，大都最原来听过嘛。等于在那边去，就是按照钱了，我是都来美国给在那边，等于在邻居找人呢，那个马上做样子，等于在邻居找人呢，那个马上做样子。那边呢，接力过吧，也是做力过吧，他一呢就过吧，也是那，在那个边，是不是边，干说的，给他钱吧，原来就是骗个嘛，他就过吧，都没就这个嘛，他就过吧，都没就这个嘛的，叫他。这帮人没在做，就是这帮这边有在干的这边呢，就好好都没叫人抓嘛的，他就谁么就马上东西都没泄露，原来就是他就好好都没叫人抓嘛的，这边的东西都没泄露的，东西都没泄露的马上去做嘛的，东西都没泄露的马上去做了的，他就谁么就是怕到去做了的，东西都没泄露马上去做就干这，他呢看到人学嘛一嘛，研究长就谁去学嘛。研究长就是谁的，东西都没泄露的，研究长就是谁把人呢？研究长就这么叫重要人，东西都没泄露的，研究长就谁把人呢？这研究长就没搞到叫重要人，马上他就搞到叫重要嘛
的。So it is important to sort of to have bodhicitta in one's mind stream, because if you lack bodhicitta and then and then other practices like sort of like the wisdom, understanding, emptiness, the sort of the meditation on deity, the self-generation, and also the two tantric practices, which are the generation stage and the completion completion stage, And all these practices, if done without bodhicitta, cannot be the cause for the full enlightenment. So some people may boast of having or engaging in such sort of highly acclaimed or named practices like this, but if somebody lacks bodhicitta, then it is just a sort of empty sort of boasting, because their practices cannot be the cause for enlightenment. And also, without bodhicitta, even if you have a clairvoyant, a psychic power, if you have a very sort of stable concentration or mental stabilization, that even somebody sort of right in your ear, if they unleash a sound of a big drum, your concentration cannot waver. So even having this kind of stable concentration, lacking bodhicitta, is also not so something that we surprise of, or that is meaningful. So as mentioned before, I have spoken this before. I've spoken about the three sort of body-mind. The body-mind with respect to Hinayanist hearer, and the body-mind with respect to Hinayanist solitary realizer, and the body-mind with respect to the Mahayanist. So the wisdom, understanding, emptiness is like a mother. It's like a mother, and the bodhicitta is like a father. So the wisdom, understanding, emptiness, if it is if it's combined with the body-mind belonging to the hearer, it can be cause for the attainment of the Hinayanist or the hearer's spiritual liberation. If it is combined with the solitary realizer's body-mind, it can be cause for the solitary realizer's spiritual liberation. And if the wisdom, understanding, emptiness is practiced in conjunction with body-mind, bodhicitta, with respect to the Mahayana path, then only then it can be the cause for the full enlightenment.
很重要的就是呢，我们呢一定要在我们的心相续当中呢，升起这个菩提心的正悟啊。如果我们心中呢缺少这个菩提心的正悟，而只有空正见的正悟的话，那么例如我们在修呢这种无上逆续啊，很高的这种像本尊的修法。例如呢，在修这个升起次第或者是圆满次第的时候，如果你少了这个菩提心的正悟的话，那么你所修的这一切很高的这些法呢，都不构成这个可以成佛的因。那有些人呢，就是他可能呢在修这些很高的这些法啊，但是呢，因为缺乏菩提心的这个缘故呢，那这样子来修这些这么高的法呢，其实都是空洞的啊。都是就是只是在自己在炫耀自己而已哈。那就是如果或者是一个有这个神通的人呢，他有这个非常深、非常稳固的这种禅定啊，那沉定到什么程度呢？就算有人在他的耳边给他敲大鼓呢，都动摇不了他。但是呢，有这样子的这个禅定功夫的人，如果他没有菩提心的话，他这种证悟也是没有什么意义的。那我们昨天呢讲过3种菩提心，那第一个呢就是声闻圣的小圣的这个声闻圣的菩提心，第二个是小圣独觉圣的这个菩提心，第三个呢是大圣的这个菩提心啊。那像这个智慧呢，就是好像是母亲一样，菩提心像父亲一样啊。那就是说，如果呢，就是修呢这个声闻圣的这种智慧哈，然后加上声闻圣的这种菩提心的话呢，你得到的证悟就是声闻圣的解脱。那如果是这个独觉圣的这种证悟呢，加这个独觉圣的这菩提心的话，那修正的这个果位呢，就是独觉圣的解脱。那如果是这个大圣的这个菩提心啊，加上这个空正见的智慧的修行的话，那这样呢会成就的果位呢，就是成就佛陀的正等正觉。
예, 나도 이제 저기 지라대 마드 최소한 생이바. 그냥 마드 내려라다. 제대로 와서 마드 제리 지다 채나 저는 그 제리 제기로. 아니요, 가우들이 지다 채바이나 그때라 그 가우들이 제기로. 머리 지다 채바이나 저는 근데 머리 지지 않으러 마드는 다시 소가 제기로. 怕节律呢，这个不等于节律讲嘛都不等于现在我找这里到毛里讲呀嘛的，怕找这里呢，这个不等于找这里讲嘛都现在讲呀嘛的，怕在毛里呢，这个等于去毛里讲嘛都现在讲呀嘛的，现在讲呀嘛的，现在这里当你特别싫어 때马上去送了的，当你特别싫어 때用也早就送给讲中的话，也对早就谁说呢？也对早就特别就是说。早就谁呢？早就特别就是早就谁什么谁说早就广播特别就说多，或者是。
So the correct view or the correct insight, the wisdom, understanding, emptiness, is likened to a mother, because in a worldly sort of term, if mother stays. If mother stays with king or the sort of the king lineage or king race, then she can bear sort of king lineage. The children having king lineage or king race, and if he stays with a Brahmin having a sort of Brahmin lineage race, then the child will be a Brahmin lineage having Brahmin race. And if she sort of stay together with someone who is from Mangrik or inferior sort of race, according to the Indian sort of tradition, then the child also will be like the race of inferior sort of lineage. So in a similar way, wisdom, understanding, emptiness, if it is practiced with the Hinayanist sort of body mind, of sort of solid hearer and the solitary realizer, then wisdom, understanding, emptiness can be the cause for the spiritual liberation, which can be attained through the Hinayanist path. If the wisdom, understanding, emptiness is practiced in conjunction with bodhicitta, then it can be the cause for the full enlightenment. So it's like a mother.
那在这个空正界呢，也就是这个了悟空性的这种智慧啊，就好像是如果以世俗的这个就是说这种言辞来讲的话呢，就是好像是母亲一样啊。然后呢，就是一个母亲呢，如果说呢，她是跟这个国王的这种传承、这种种姓在一起的话，那么她生的孩子呢，就会变成是这个国王的贵族的这种种姓。那如果呢，她是跟婆罗门在一起，这个母亲是跟婆罗门在一起的话，那么她生的孩子呢，就是会成为这个婆罗门的这种种姓。那以印度来讲，如果说这个母亲呢是跟这种比较低下的阶层的这种种姓在一起的话，那么她生的小孩就是属于这种低下的这种种姓的这个阶级哦。所以呢，这个空正见的这个智慧呢，空性如果是加上这种小圣的，例如说如果是跟这个声闻圣或者是独觉圣的这种菩提心呢在一起修的话，那么修得的呢就是这种小圣的这个道哈，小圣的解脱道而已。那如果说这个空正见的智慧呢是加上呢这个大圣的菩提心来修的话，那么修的这个果位呢就是这个成佛的果位。所以因此呢，这个空性这个空正见的智慧呢就好像是母亲一样。
对，那个当你特别写了用个没打呀的，用写了就把人就讲吧，用写记一下那么的，他要真的就当你在这边都。当你在这边的呢，用这里就说啥了，但这里就是也不用在，你这到吧，什么的，用这里就是这样的，用这里就说真的，但用个没打个，俺们买也没打个，但用这里就说真的，这个人现在他就真的有个的，他讲就是写什么真的，他就去做，讲就写什么，他就做干的，他这里呢，这不是这里嘛，都没讲那一个，他就写什么去，有了，他就写什么了，真的。就사실 고바 또 저 누구를 봐도 예들 당라지 라저 고바 또 저 누구 말이든 예 예들 저 로마 라지 저 로마리 사실 저 로마 예되었다 다 때문에 돈에 사실 고바 더 예되었다 그 사실 고바 저 로마에 예되었다 저라 때문에 이제 하다라 예 좋아다 하다라 사실 고바 저 맞으면 영속에 예 저저 속에 저 별로 아니어서 하다라 세들에他叫他早就是写了么去，马在呢， 现在这里边感觉就那样，也在感觉就那样，他就搞不懂就罗马的，本来这里就搞错的。我写到就知道，我写什么结果呢？他就搞不懂罗马的，就出原来他就搞不懂就罗马的，这个他在那边人就到原来他就搞不懂就什么都做了的。왜 다들 제리 도리 가르치 사주 세제 맞으면 제리 다 도리 가르치 거 봐야 사주 거만 좀 누가 말해 다들에 사주 세를 맞지 제발 좀 그거 안다 사주 거만도 저를 좋아하는 사주 세를 맞지 세고 그랬다.
As mentioned before about the wisdom, understanding, emptiness being a mother. If you look at the text or the Buddhist sort of canon, Buddha's teaching canon, we will find that the term mother or the yum is sort of applied to the wisdom, understanding, emptiness, or the emptiness itself, or any kind of Buddha's teaching or text which principally explain the emptiness or wisdom, understanding, emptiness. So we have the three texts, Gejik Disum, three texts, the Great Exposition, the Middling Exposition, and the Small Exposition on the subject matter emptiness, respectively having 1,000 verses, 100,000 verses, 20,000 verses, and then get over 8,000 verses respectively. So these three sutras sort of mainly deal with the wisdom, understanding, emptiness, and emptiness itself. So they are called Mother Sutra, Yum Mother Sutra. So in short, as explained before, any kind of practice you do, it is important that you have to make sure that it is supported, or it has a blessing of bodhicitta, or it has to be supported by bodhicitta, or it has to practice in conjunction with bodhicitta. Otherwise, any kind of practice, any kind of virtuous practices cannot become the cause for full enlightenment or Buddhahood without bodhicitta. So, to mention again, psychic power, the clairvoyant, the miraculous power, to do miraculous power, and then the tantric practices like the generation stage, the completion stage, and even a very stable concentration like a huge mountain. So all of these practices, they cannot be the concordant cause for the generation of full enlightenment if they lack the bodhicitta. So it is important.
那如同我们前面呢所提过的啊，就是讲呢，就是这个空正见的这种智慧，这种了悟空性的这个智慧呢，就好像是这个如同这个母亲一样哈，就是这个词呢，就是也用在哈，就是任何在讲这个空正见啊，这种讲智慧的任何佛所传的这个经典哈，那只要是讲这个空性智慧这方面的呢，就是把它称为这个智慧般若母的这样子的经典啊。例如呢，像这个般若经的话呢，它可分为就是有这个小般若经呢，就是这个般若8000颂；那中般若经呢，就是这个10000颂哈。然后不对，对不起，中般若是25000颂，然后大般若经呢是10万颂哈。那就是说，所有的这些这个般若经呢，就是呢，事实上，所以就是都被称为这个般若这个佛母这样子的般若经哈，智慧母、般若母之类的这样子的般若经，那就是所有的这些般若呢，讲这个空正见的这个智慧呢，事实上呢，它都是必须要跟这个菩提心合在一起的，那必须呢就是受到这个菩提心的这个护持的。不然的话，如果你光是修这些空正见的这些般若智慧，那没有菩提心的话，你所修的这一切呢，它就不能够成为这个成佛的因啊。所以，例如我们前面所说过的，不管呢，我们讲到的说，就是你有多大的这个神通神变力，或者是你修呢这个升起这个无上密的升起跟圆满次第，或者是你有这个如同大山一般的那么稳定、那么深的这个禅定的功夫，如果呢你缺乏这个菩提心的话，你所修的这一切都不能够成为这个成佛的正因。所以因此呢，要有这个菩提心的证悟呢是非常的重要的。
或者他可能这些从了全部的养两个公会他，他这些从了全部的两他，这些从了全部的养两个公会人，他这些从了有个国家干了他当年特别接了，然后就是现在都公会说他，就是都是公会说，这养两个公呢，要公的要别的，他别说了真就从了这了，两这了呀的。这些从了这的那个给他搞过来，这个公呢，这个错误没打过来，这些从了全部那个错误没打过来，这些从了全部那种呢，这些账目这些账面送给那的账面错啥用过做完他，第一那个呢这错打过来都是查把啥人公呢，要公的偏错呢真错这些，他从了这个那个呢，错打过来都是啥，这从了这的养两种国民这叫从了全部人。这叫从了前面那个人说的，他这叫从了前面那个人，他去进去这个人知道投入的，他在我知道真的，去进去这个人是投入的，他长期写好把我的车的真的，去年确保去年做啥真的确保做啥，去年这个的，真的接触的，他对于那个呢，这叫从了这从那个他就从了前面那个呢，多年了没有发动过的，多年了没有发动过做过的真的。
So when you are on the path, when you are on the first path of the five Mahayana path, which is path of accumulation, and within the path of accumulation, as mentioned before, there are three levels. So you are on the small, so the first level, which is we call the small path of accumulation. So when you are on that path, so you have to practice again and again. You have to engage in the meditation again and again. So what you have to meditate is you have to meditate bodhicitta, which you have generated again and again, and also you have to meditate on emptiness again and again. And in addition to these two essential practice, what you have to do is you have to engage in the accumulation of merit, because according to Mahayana, so Paramitayana, in order to get Buddhahood, you have to accumulate a merit for duration of three sort of innumerable eons. So out of these three innumerable eons, the first innumerable eons starts from that level. So you have to engage in accumulation. So you keep on practicing, and then you will reach the middling, the path of accumulation, sonam ding, the middling part of accumulation. And again you keep on meditating what you have been meditating, and then you will reach the great path of accumulation, solam chembo. And on that level, you will also attain a special concentration called Chogyum Tingenzi. Chogyum Tingenzi means concentration on the continuum of Dharma. So Chogyum Tingenzi, roughly translate, concentration on the continuum of Dharma. So when you attain this concentration, then this concentration allows you to see the Nirmankaya or the emanation Buddha, the Buddha directly, and you can travel to so many different Buddha land and you can receive teachings from different kind of Buddhas and make offering, and then you will be in a very good position to get direct access to the Buddha and his teaching, and also accumulating merit by making immense amount of offerings. And then on that level of the great path of accumulation, you will now start to emphasize on cultivating we call Thakbong, means special insight or superior seeing, a very special wisdom, superior seeing on emptiness.
那就是当呢如果呢你入了这个大乘的五道哈之后的这个第一道呢就是资粮道。那我们刚刚前面讲过，那这个资粮道呢它又可以分为三品哈，就是小中大三品。那一开始呢就是入呢这个资粮道里面的这个小品哈，那就是在入了这个之后呢，你再继续反复的不断的继续修你本来就一直在修的这个菩提心，然后也继续不断反复的呢一直在观这个空哈，观空性哈，然后继续这样子修哈。那如果根据这个般若波罗蜜多圣的话哈，那就是说成佛的时间是需要三大阿僧祇劫的时间去累积这个福德资粮的哈。那 这个3大阿僧祇劫的时间从什么时候算起呢？就是从你入了这个资粮道哈的这个小品的时候呢开始算起。那从这个时候呢开始呢，你就是继续这样子修呢，那最后呢之后你就会进入呢这个中品的这个资粮道。然后呢，你再继续这样子不断的一直修你原来所修的之后呢，你就会入这个资粮道的这个大品的这个成就。那之后呢，你就会进入一种呢，就是可以称就是简单翻为就是续修法、继续修法的这种禅定的这样子的这种禅定当中。那当你达到这样子的成就的时候，你会在这个定当中，你会看到化身佛啊，之后你就可以直接跟化身佛就是接触这样子哈，然后你会看到很多的这个佛国净土，然后呢你可以呢直接在这个佛国净土当中呢，就是直接获得这个佛陀的这个教法，然后呢可以在那边行这个广大的供养。那可以透过呢这个在佛国净土呢行这个广大的这个供养呢，累积呢这个福泽资粮哈，然后再加上呢就是去做这种很高的这种空正见的智慧的这个内观哈，去观空。
等于到你那边他做过吧，他做就查过了，就查过了，就查过了。他跟让主最常常前给的呢，那边搞呢，他都给大半年过的，大半年，他都做他这叫做美国，他做他这叫这，他老把他那边我原来真的做到的，我这老是做这，他都就做他把这的，他都过去了，他老是多年了没有，他都过去了，他多年了没有，他都过去，他这几百万的，他这把钱多半年了，这把钱几把的，多半年了把这边解决了。这几百万，多半年这边解决的，这边建的养的工，都是7、8千的工的。他本来现在工资3年工多，在老百姓里要的，他3年工老百姓里面，200几他们几个月的，200几他们有过的。他们把3年股票存那么多，股票存那么多那个的，这说呢，这就养的工呗，但是谁叫这样那么多？这里西藏这话这，但是西藏给的这把钱都是他们，西藏给的话这把钱就是怎说呢？这我们这里现在搞一些西藏给的话呢，按照就从就教养的，这种的话就说呢，多年了没有他都教的，多年了没有学了这个的教育的，这就说呢，这叫就让学透的，这叫就让学透的。
So on that level, the great path of accumulation, as mentioned before, one would emphasize on the spatial insight or superior seeing on emptiness. So to practice the spatial insight on emptiness, first you need to accumulate all the necessary causes and conditions. We call gyutso, necessary causes and conditions, in order to be able to practice in a good way. So there are many sort of causes and conditions. So some of them being, you have to rely on a spiritual teacher who has gained a correct understanding or correct insight or valid cognition in all the sort of stages of the spatial insight. And then you should also engage in the practice of purification and accumulating merit, purifying and accumulating merit. And then you should also sort of supplicate or supplicate to your own teacher, whom you have to see as something inseparable or as of same entity with your meditational deity or Buddha. And then one should search for the real, the object of spatial insight, which is emptiness. So how you have to practice is, once you have so the way to try to find the object which is emptiness is by going through a logical reason or by analyzing. So as mentioned in Shamatha, you need to cultivate a very stable mind, firm mind. So now in the case of spatial insights, based on stable mind, not just sort of not just being in a state of single-pointed, but based on the stable mind, you step forward more by analyzing. So without losing the stability of your mind as a basis, you analyze in the nature of emptiness, and then you analyze, you generate stability, you analyze, you generate stability, and then there are also like a 9 mental abiding, similar to the shamatha. So you have to go through all these different kind of mental 9 mental levels, and then when you reach like a 9 mental level, and at that time your mind can be very firm, very stable, and still you can analyze on your subject, which is emptiness. And then after sort of cultivating stability and also analyzing the subject emptiness, the object emptiness in a sort of alternative way, and then finally, if you are able to generate not through the force of single-pointedness, but rather through the force of your analytical power, if you are able to generate first the mental suppleness, and then the physical suppleness, and then the bliss of physical suppleness, and then bliss of mental suppleness, and then from the bliss of mental suppleness will arise, we call Shinjang Myowa, unmovable mental suppleness. So if you are able to generate, with respect to the object emptiness, through the force of analysis, unmovable mental suppleness, and that is the measurement of obtaining or attaining a special insight, that very special wisdom, special insight or superior seeing with respect to the subject emptiness. Once you acquire that special insight, then you move on to the path of preparation. And again, the path of preparation has 4 levels. Out of these 4 levels, you reach the first level, which is means the peak is called. It is like a how should I say? It's like a sort of the warmth or the warmth of the fire.
再就是呢，在这个我们刚刚讲过，就是资粮道呢，它的第3个呢，就是第3品呢，就是大的这个品哈。你在证的这样子的证悟之后呢，然后再来就是你继续强调的就是这个观空哦，然后就说你要就是要这样子修之前呢，你必须要先去累积呢这个足够的这个因缘啊。那因缘呢有很多项。那例如说呢，你要依止一个，就是他本身呢曾经有这样子的证悟的这样子的有正确的这个空观，然后正确的认知的这样子的这个师长，然后再来呢就是你自己本身呢要做过很多的这个净罪集资哈，净除罪障，然后累积这个福德资粮。然后呢，再来就是你要呢，像呢，就是跟你的这个所观修的本尊或者是佛完全无二无别的上师呢，要跟他祈求祈请。然后呢，再来呢，就是你要去内观哈，就是观的这个对境呢，就是观这个空性哈。这时候你要观所缘境呢，就是这个空性。然后呢，你要再用呢，就是那些因明的这些因呢，去分析哈，分析这些空性。然后以前呢，我们在讲奢摩他的时候，你所强调的是那种很稳固的这种禅定哦。那这时候呢，当你要内观这个空性的时候，你就是以这种奢摩他的这种很稳固的这种禅定呢为基础哦，然后。所以这时候我们要用的主要的不是定，而是要分析啊，就是用这样子的呢来内观，然后来观这个空性。然后这时候呢，你在观空的时候呢，你要经过的阶段就有点类似奢摩他的那种久住心、久住定的那种过程啊。你在观空的时候也是一样，要经过这种久住心、久住定的这种过程，这样子哈。然后这个时候呢，你要用就是指的那种心很稳定啊的这种很深的禅定的这种情况之下呢，然后来观空，来分析这个空性哈。所以 以前呢，你要用的呢，就是所以你要用这种很稳固的这种禅定的这种功夫呢，来观空，来分析空性哈。所以以前呢是这个奢摩他是透过定，那这个时候不是定是以这个为基础而已，所以这时候你最主要要用的是一种分析哈，就是去分析这个空性。然后之后呢，你就会达到呢这种身清安、心清安，然后以及呢就是这种心呢会产生的这种乐，还有这个身产生的这个乐受，然后就是从呢这个心呢的这种升起的这种乐呢，会让你呢升起一种这个很大的这个身的这个清安哈，然后就是会升起一种这种不动的这种身的这个清安哈，然后最后呢，你的这个整个这个意呢，就是心呢会进入一种这个清安当中，然后用呢这种时候呢来观这个空性哈，来观这个空正见这样子哈，然后这样子之后呢，你就会进入呢这个大乘的这个五道的第二道这个加行道。那么加行道呢，它又可以分为4个哈，然后第一个呢就是叫做暖哈，然后它就是好像是说如同这个火所升起的这种温暖一样。
当这个真正讲了，也有的他，之前讲了这个这样是吧？就说是也有的他，这就不是他人吧就是要功夫了他，人吧就不是要功夫，人吧就是要功夫的，他真正是。这些操浪的，这些讲了一个那个说，人吧他这些长辈说过的，长辈错的大的，错的做法就是他，长辈错的做法就是他，长辈错的做法就是。他这个等于是这错的做法结完了，东西咱就是谁都不知道，东西特别细了，就是把从这前的功夫把它，从这前的功夫的，他从这前头基本的，东西特别细了，记得呢。如果这里就谁都不知谁嘛教的，他就谁都不知，我这里东西特别细了，就谁嘛教的功夫的，他提到基本的，咱就谁都不知我这结完了，东西特别细了，把人把这第谁做的。东西特别细了功夫的，他就谁都不知把人把这第谁的，现在把人把这意思第谁的，他谁讲的过到这里，他是从这讲过到这里面的，他是从这些的那个功夫，这谁嘛讲的，他过的功夫。
The part of preparation has 4 levels. The heat, the peak, and then patience, and then chujok, the supreme phenomena or supreme dharma. One has to engage in these these 4 different levels in a subsequent way, in a sort of in a sequence way. During the time of the part of accumulation, and also during the time of part of preparation, what the practitioner has to do is he has to make sure that he completed the accumulation of merit and the wisdom that is needed to accumulate it for one innumerable eon. So as mentioned before, there are 3 sort of innumerable eons in which you have to cultivate merit in order to reach Buddhahood. So out of 3, between these sort of 2 paths, you have to make sure that the first eon should be completed, and then one will move forward. So during the time of the accumulation of merit and wisdom, for sort of one innumerable eons, what you have to do is the main practice is the unification of bodhicitta and emptiness. And as mentioned before, the unification of bodhicitta and emptiness is sort of while you engage in the sort of manifest practice of bodhicitta, you make sure that it is supported by wisdom, understanding, emptiness. Also, you should make sure that it is under the influence of wisdom, understanding, emptiness. And when you are in the sort of evident the practice of wisdom, understanding, emptiness, you make sure that it is also supported or it is influenced by bodhicitta. So in this way, you have to cultivate the merit, and also by engaging in the practice of generosity, morality, patience, effort, and so on.
那这个 加行道呢，它可以就是分为4个部分哈，就是暖顶人法，或者是讲示第一法哈。那就是我们在这个加行道的时候呢，也是要依序的那修，就是顺着这4个顺序这样子修啊。然后就是我们在资粮道跟加行道的时候呢，我们就是要确定呢，我们是在累积这个福德跟智慧的。我们讲过，这是成佛的很重要的这2种资粮。那我们也前面说过呢，就是要说过，就是说根据这个般若圣是说呢，你要花3大阿僧祇劫的时间哈，来累积这个足够的资粮呢，来成佛哈。那所以呢，就是在这第1道跟第2道之间呢，就要花这个1大阿僧祇劫的这个时间哈，然后就是我要确定呢，在这个时候呢，就是是这个智慧跟这个菩提心哈，同时的这个双运的这样子来累积这2种资粮哈，就是在修的时候呢，要确定，如果你修菩提心的话，你的菩提心呢是有受到这个空正见的这个支持，然后如果是修空正见的话，你的空正见是有受到这个菩提心的这个支持哈，然后就是要用这样子的方式呢来累积这个2种资粮。
因为当时你讲到做这个在这帮就这样讲呢，那搞面长辈说大对吧呢？他直接到了做了的。他直接做了我这样，他直接做了，我就接受呢。多半年我说是做过的，多半年我说做过的，直接搞下来把那边我说俺那这个肉做把它的，俺那做这肉是加上是做把它的，我说是做过的，这话做过的，简直这不钱做过的，这话做过的，所以我说是做过的。他这里头脑在那你有的。把前面老陈老热老才真女儿的他，把前面老才的同胞有我年出来的，把前面老才他，这同胞有的，同老跟那个是帮过来个帮家人，他都是同胞给的，同老那个是帮过帮家的同胞给的，他这有我年出，我这年不去了，他这我这年不，我年出来这到节子要他们，他把节子要他，这要第一那个呢，同胞跟我年出的，他老热老的我年出的，他。给同胞那对了，同胞就帮助他，同胞帮助他，同胞在这张本上某个园这一类，这个同胞过去做这里在家园他，过去做这都上去到东厂园他，好像都是帮助他，这同胞帮助那对了，同胞的，同胞帮助那对了，同胞这也同意我所做的人，而且同胞就在那同意我所做的人。从他把前面了，他到这了，你东西我都做给人，你那个呢，他就谁给谁这个的，他就是谁给谁的，你就谁给谁的，这马家把要的，马家把要的，谁这个的，我是这个嘛，这马家把要的，你谁嘛的，他就谁的，这东西从这里要的。
Once you practice in the 4 levels of Pada preparation, the heat, peak, patience, and supreme dharma. So as you have to engage in the practice in an orderly way, and then once while you engage in the practice, and then at the same time you reach sort of culmination of the accumulation of merit needed to be amassed in one immemorial eon, then your sort of the wisdom or your spatial insight with respect to the emptiness will transform into a path of seeing that is characterized by directly seeing emptiness without going through any other obscuration or without going through any sort of generic or mental image. So that it is like understanding or perceiving emptiness as we on the ordinary level used to perceive like a form with our eyes, some sort of directly. So when you attain the path of seeing, which is characterized by directly sort of penetrating or directly understanding emptiness, and then so you reach the path of seeing, and the path of seeing again they are in the same sort of meditative session, in the same continuum, same line, you will acquire 2 different paths. So one path is called Thonam Parjimelam, which is the uninterrupted path of seeing, because there is no interruption between that part of seeing and the actual sort of abandonment of the gross level of delusion. And then this uninterrupted part of seeing, which is Tonam Pajimanam, can act as a direct antidote, or Muenyan means actual antidote towards the intellectually formed sort of delusion, not innately formed delusion. Within the delusion, there are considered to be two delusions. One is more like a natural, more difficult to abandon, subtle. One is something that we sort of intellectually formed delusion, which is more coarser or more grosser. So on that part of seeing, uninterrupted part of seeing, is a direct antidote to this gross level of delusion or afflicted emotions or negative mind, which is also called as Tongpang. So Tongpang is like abandonment of a part of seeing. So it's like Tongpang. So anyhow, it is the grosser level of the delusion. And then the direct antidote, which is the uninterrupted part of seeing, in its the next moment will transform into sort of another part, which is the same continuum, which is same in terms of understanding emptiness, but at that level you are now released permanently from the gross level of delusion. So therefore it is called Namdulam. So it is called the released part of seeing, because at that level not only you are being antidote, but you are now, you are completely sort of away, or you have completely eradicated the gross level of delusion or negative mind. So in both these two levels, in one continuum, both are similar in terms of being wisdom, understanding, emptiness, and both are similar or same in terms of directly understanding emptiness, and also both are same being supported by bodhicitta, being supported by the great compassion. Even though on that level there is no evident or there is no manifest bodhicitta or great compassion, but there is bodhicitta in terms of its influence is there, or in terms of laying low profile or being in the latent potency. Together we call Manyambitsugu. So it's like existing not in a manifest way, but existing in terms of latent potency. That is what is meant by Manyambitsugu.
那一旦呢你进入这个第二道加行道的话，那就是呢依序的修这个暖顶忍法的这4个这个阶段哦，然后再就是呢这个在这个加行道呢也是要花这个一大阿僧祇劫的时间哈，来这个观空啊，然后之后呢最后呢就会证悟呢进入呢这个见道哈，然后就是能够无碍的，就是直接的这个心呢直观，直接证悟这个空性啊。这个时候呢，就是没有任何我们本来这种凡夫好像用肉眼呢去看到的那种心理的这种意象啊，而是呢直接是用心呢直接去这个证悟的哈，直接这个进入这个空性当中这样子。那这个见道呢，又可以分为这个有见缺的见道以及无见缺的见道。那这个有见缺的见道呢，就是说这个见到这个空性在那个时候是有间断的。那有间断的话呢，这种有见缺的这种见道呢，就是可以成为呢我们的2种烦恼里面的这个一种的这个正对治哈，也就是我们一种这个无明呢是一种是具生的，然后一种呢就是比较像所知的这种烦恼哈，然后这时候呢这个有见缺的这种见道呢，它就可以成为呢这个所知的这种无明烦恼的，就是比较粗分的这种烦恼的这种正对治。那这个时候呢，就是之后呢，再会进入无见缺的这个见道。如果进入无见缺的见道的话呢，那你就是进入呢这个真正的这种解脱哈，那真正永远的断这种这个粗分的这个烦恼了哈。然后这样就说，如果以这个了悟空性，或者是说直观空性啊，或者是受到这个菩提心的 这个影响的这个部分来看，这两种见到呢其实是类似的哈。那这个时候这个菩提心呢，虽然不是说很明显的显现出来，但是呢，它是一种好像是潜伏的哈、隐藏式的这种潜力呢，还是菩提心的这种潜力还是在的。
对，他可能从那追了多，从那追了多完了，从把面他那追了，然后就投票了他，这是我在说他，从把面摘了，我在就投了他，也在就投票他，我在这个就投票摘了，从把面摘了就投了，这个摘又摘了就投了他。他真的从那追了呢，从那几多人当给他，从那追了人家家里当我他，人家里当我的，他家里是谁什么知道，你这怎么都是我的结果他。也是怎么中国的这个人，这结巴了，也是怎么着就写着，等于我说这个记录谁给的，等于我说这个记录，我就这样嘛，这万年不一样的，万年不一样的，这谁说的他，这谁把这个这头些从这人这个他头脑解脱的，他头脑解脱的，他这个，他过了的叫做他过了才的，他这里这个他，上去国防头发了，把这这把这个年纪虚制设计了，他年纪虚制设计了的。他们年纪了，现在年纪了，过跳舞，他年纪了过跳舞，他过跳舞的，全部了送，人了送，全部了送在那跳舞的，全部送干的这个成了前面全部在，这个全部在，全部现在，他到这里送钱的过有过年把这些报回他。他过了跟那个他过年报回，这帮着也就过不掉，帮着给也不得了的呢，差一个过了的呢，差这个差到我差一把差中把差几把差二把差中差对把现在这把的这个把第一那个报差这边把的差这边把的也就过不掉帮着他。
When you are in these two level of path of seeing, the uninterrupted path of seeing, and then the release path of seeing. So when you reach the release path of seeing, then what you acquire is you acquire a cessation of the gross level of delusion or negative mind, and at that time, that cessation or that sort of eradication or elimination of gross level of delusion is also called, we call true cessation, or the truth of the noble truth of cessation, one of the noble truth of cessation. And then you will not remain sort of continuously or eternally in the state of wisdom directly understanding emptiness. You will sort of awake, you will wake up from that absorption, that meditative absorption into the emptiness. You will wake up, and then when you wake up, you will engage in another path. So when that path is called Jetovishi, Jetovishi means the subsequent attainment of the path of seeing. So in that, when you arise in that path, Jetovishi, and then you can manifest or you can generate the evident bodhicitta, the great compassion, all other sort of virtuous mind other than wisdom directly understanding emptiness. So on that level, on the subsequent path of seeing, subsequent attainment path of seeing, when you generate bodhicitta in a sort of manifest way, and at that time you cannot manifest the wisdom directly understanding emptiness, but similarly as before, still the influence of the wisdom directly understanding emptiness is there, and we can also say that your manifested bodhicitta is also supported by wisdom directly understanding emptiness. So in that path, the subsequent attainment or path of seeing, again you have to engage in sort of the union of the wisdom understanding emptiness of bodhicitta, and also engaging in practice of other virtuous activity, virtuous mind. And then you move on to the next path, which is called the path of meditation. It is so called because you are not only satisfied with directly understanding emptiness, but you want to familiarize more what you have directly seen, what you have directly sort of seen the emptiness. So the path of meditation has different levels, and from that also starts the 10 ground of Bodhisattva. The first ground, second ground, third ground, fourth ground, fifth ground, so on to the 10th ground. And on the path of meditation, or on the path of meditation, you also has many different level of obstructions to be abandoned. And generally speaking, there are two obstructions: nutive and shitive. The obstruction to nutive means the obstruction to the liberation, the mere liberation, and the shitive means the obstruction to Buddhahood, or obstructions to omniscience, sort of omniscience. So there are two obstructions. So out of these two, you first need to abandon the obstruction to liberation first. Obstruction to liberation, and obstruction to liberation again are sort of divided into 9 levels, starting from the big, middling, the big, small, and then middling, big, middling, small, and then small, big, small, middling, small. So in a sort of in an order of the circular level, being more circular. So you have to start abandoning from the gross level, which is the grossest is the big, the obstructions to liberation, or big afflictive emotion, big afflictive innate afflictive emotions. So these are the different level of obstructions you need to abandon until the 7th ground. So the obstruction to the liberation, divided into 9 levels, are all being eliminated until you reach the 7th ground. What is that ground?
再就是你在这种就是无间缺的这种解脱的这种见到的时候呢，那就是你会断的这个粗分的这个烦恼哈，然后这也就是呢证得这种灭地。那就是呢，但是你不会一直停留在这样子的这个空的禅定当中，你会从这种禅定出来啊，然后呢再继续修哈，就是像修这个续见道这样子啊，就是你这时候呢，你就可以升起这个大悲心，升起这个菩提心啊，这时候呢，这个菩提心就会现起哈，那不是一直停留在之前的那种直观空性的这种禅定当中哈，那就是现在呢就是会受到就是菩提心哈，这时候呢你会开始观这种菩提心哈，但是这个时候虽然空性不是直接在观空，但是呢你这时候的这种菩提心呢也是受到这个空正见这个智慧的影响哈，那就好像呢之前你在修这个智慧的时候呢虽然菩提心没有现起，但是呢是受到菩提心的影响一样哈。所以呢，就是要修这个智慧跟菩提心的这样子的双运呢，然后继续这样子修哈，然后在就是之后呢，你又观就是直观空性而已，就是还不够哈，你就是会继续呢，在要去禅定的去观呢你所见到的这种空性哦。那从这样子的话，就说以这个菩萨的实地来讲的话呢，就是要会修从这个初地、2地修到这个第3地这样哈。那每一地的话呢，都是有这个障碍呢要去去除的哈。然后就是我们讲这个障碍呢有2种，一种是呢让我们得解脱的障碍，一种是让我们得这个证得佛的一切种智的这种障碍。以这2种障碍来讲，我们首先要去除的障碍是这个解脱的这个障碍。而这个解脱的障碍呢，也分为这个9种哈，就是这个大中大小，然后这个中大中小，然后再小大小中小这样哈。所以我们要从粗的这粗分的这个障碍呢开始这个去除哈，然后所以这时候呢，我们要去除这个2种这个无明烦恼哈，一种呢就是这个所知的这个无明，一种是俱生的哦。然后就是要去除，首先呢我们要去除的就是这个证得解脱的这个障碍哈。所以呢，就是从这个第3地到第7地呢，都是这样子由粗而细的来去除这些障碍。
哎呀，那对你这前面全部都是他让你全部的，也是前面全部都是他让你现在 라바데 예를 제베 제모 라바데 원로 사다고 원래 바제 말아도 나들랑 이제 방거다 예 예를 제베 저보다 참어대 1200원에 바제 말아도 나들랑 이제 방거다 이제 방거다 다 제베 되데 사소배 되는 원에 바제 말아도 나들랑 이제 방거다 이제 방거 다 이제 방거 다 되네 예를 제비 경원들 사집에 네 원래 바제만은 나를 이제 방원다 이제 방원다 제비 전부터 되네 방원다.
So when you are on the sort of path of meditation, so when you are on the path of meditation, so how you go through the different level of the Bodhisattva ground, starting from first. Starting from the first, second, and third, and so on. So on that level, you out of these two obstruction to liberation, or in another term we call afflictive obstruction, and then another obstruction is obstruction to omniscience, in another term imprint of afflictive emotions. So out of these two, until the seventh Bodhisattva ground, we are more concerned about the first obstruction, which is obstruction to mere liberation, or afflictive obstruction. So within the afflictive obstruction, as mentioned before, there are 9 levels, and the first level, or the gross level, the gross level, which is easiest to abandon, is big sort of afflictive obstruction. So big afflictive obstructions. So within the big afflictive obstructions, again it is divided into 2, the gross and the subtle. So when your path of meditation transforms into a path, again the path of uninterrupted path of meditation, and then the next moment the released path of meditation, which can directly sort of be antidote towards the gross afflictive gross big afflictive obstructions, and then eradicate it, and then you reach the first Bodhisattva ground. And then when again you meditate, and then you are able to gain a path, uninterrupted path of meditation, which can not only be antidote towards the gross big afflictive obstruction, but also to the subtle big afflictive obstructions, and then subsequently gain cessation of that. Then you reach the second level, second Bodhisattva ground. Again you engage in the meditation, accumulating merit, and then you reach a higher level of path of meditation, which now can also be a direct antidote towards the big middling afflictive obstructions, and then subsequently attain a cessation of that obstruction. Then you reach the third level, and then it moves on until you destroy the subtlest afflictive obstruction.
那在这个修道的时候呢，就是如何从这个初地，然后2地、3地啊等等呢，这样子而修的呢，就是最主要呢，就是从这个要去除这2种障碍哈，就是一个是我们解脱的障碍，也可以称为这个烦恼障；另外一个呢，就是这个成佛的障碍哈，就是由这个烦恼障呢所留下的这种比较维系的这个惑或者讲习气哈的这种障碍。那就是说这个障碍呢，就是我们从最粗的先开始去除，那也是最容易的啊。就是障碍我们刚刚分这个大的这个障碍哈，然后大又可以分为2种层次，分为粗分跟细分啊。那就是呢，当呢我们继续呢这样子的禅定的时候呢，就是从这个无见缺的这个见道，然后再进入这个解脱道的时候哈，那我们就可以把这个最粗的这个障碍，也就是这个大的这个障碍的这个粗分的这个障碍去除哈。那这个时候呢，就证得这个初地菩萨的果位。然后之后呢，证得初地菩萨的果位以后呢，再继续去禅定呢，那就不止呢可以去除这个 最初的这种障碍，就是大大的这个障碍里面哈，我们刚是先粗分的去除，这个时候呢，连细分的呢也去除了啊。然后那再继续尽罪集资的话呢，那就会再进入呢更高的层次呢，也会去除了这个大中的这个障碍哈，然后就继续呢这样不断的这样子的修啊，就当你去除这个大中的障碍的时候呢，就会证得这个三地菩萨的这个果位哈，然后呢再继续这样子的不断的修，最后连这个小小的那个障碍也去除。
那是当你这个全部的上边我也把这么拿出来，你就放为啥？当这个真的上出边我也把这么拿出来，你就放为啥？当这个全部的上对边我也把这么拿出来，你就放为啥？你就放为啥？他全部归说的，他结巴的了，他拖到你去了，他结巴了，拖到你去了，他后面把这么拿出来，你就你这全部归说这下子放为啥？这下子放为。
Out of the 9 different level of afflictive obstruction, the middling beak is being sort of eradicated by the 5th Bodhisattva ground, and then the middling is eradicated by the 6th Bodhisattva ground, and then middling small is being eradicated by the 7th Bodhisattva ground. And again, in this Bodhisattva ground, you will have 2 different paths, the uninterrupted path and the release path. And then now what left is the 3 different level of small afflictive obstruction, small, big, small, middling, and small. So it is said that these 3 are sort of eradicated simultaneously by the 8th Bodhisattva ground. And again, the 8th Bodhisattva ground, they are divided into 2, like a talk means like a former and the later, or the first and the later. So in these 2 paths, again there is a path of uninterrupted path, which being direct antidote, the released path, which obtain a cessation, the permanent cessation of that object to be abandoned. So on the 8th Bodhisattva ground, one eradicate these 3 subtle level of afflictive obstruction.
再来呢，就是呢我们讲的这9种这个烦恼障哈，然后在这个中大的这个烦恼障呢，是在5地菩萨的果位的时候去除的。那这个中的这个烦恼障呢，是6地菩萨果位的时候去除的。那这个中小的这个烦恼障呢，是7地菩萨去除的。那7地菩萨呢，它一样呢可以分为这个无间缺道跟这个解脱道这样子哈。然后再来呢，就是小大，然后小中，还有小小的这个烦恼障呢，就是呢，这是8地菩萨呢，它就是可以同时呢去除这3种这个障碍的哈。那就是在这个8地菩萨呢，它也是可以分为2种，一种呢称为前者，那第2种称为这个后者。那也一样呢，就是可以分为这个无间缺跟这个解脱道哈。那在无间缺的果位的时候呢，就是对治呢这3种障碍，然后呢，在这个解脱道的果位的时候呢，它就完全断除了这3种烦恼障。
对，当你这想干的那上面了，当你这想的人都叫工作，俺这马里巴都是的，你这人讲的，做的人讲俺这人去想的嘛。俺这想的，人这想的，我就讲你这人讲的，你这人他真的实际上干的真的，你电脑去了，他电脑去了，做他你脑上面查的他，你脑上面查的呗，你脑查不的真的，他实际人讲的，电脑是电脑把查查的叫他，电脑是把查的实际人，你脑上面把查的是他，你脑查不的人，他实际人讲的。他实际的，他结巴的了，他过你去把他拖到你身上，过你身上，就你去好了的，他结巴过嘛的了的呢，把前面了的那这那你好的，那这那你好的，第一的呢， 시루 되나는데 치고다 시리들은 송쳐다 전부 리 전부 송 쳐다 전부 리 전부 제 리제 송쳐다 다 전부 레시 사제바들은 고마 바제면 나들하기 전부도 방을 지리 전부도 방을 다 지리 전부도 방을
If I explain you more detail about what is meant by mutic, or which is I translated as afflictive obstruction. So the afflictive obstruction is what we normally call like the delusion, attachment, the anger, and also a mind that can perceive phenomena as a truly existent, denzin, and then nganzin means self-grasping mind, a mind which cling to the inherently existent self. So these are like a afflictive obstruction. And then what is meant by the shetic or knowledge obstruction? So the knowledge obstruction can be understood in terms of something that can obstruct you to perceive all phenomena simultaneously, and also these are what we called the knowledge obstructions, like the imprint of self-grasping mind, or imprint of truly sort of mind which perceive truly existence. So the subtle imprint of that mind is also called the knowledge obstruction, and also imprint of that mind which allows us which allows that the phenomena appear sort of independently existent or appear truly existent is also called the knowledge obstruction. So this is so these are the two sort of obstructions as mentioned before. And then now, as mentioned before, there are two sort of levels of the path, the eighth ground bodhisattva, the former and the later. So I think there's some sort of miscatching, but Rinpoche explained that the former, the level of eighth bodhisattva ground deals with again within the knowledge obstruction, this subtle obstruction, the imprint of afflictive emotions. The knowledge obstructions has three levels: big, middling, and small. And then the former level of eighth bodhisattva ground path deals with the big knowledge obstruction.
那再就是我们讲到这个烦恼障哈，那这个烦恼障呢，指的就是呢一般我们所讲的这些烦恼，例如说像这个贪跟嗔啊，或者是呢就是把一切法呢看成呢就是实有的哈，看成就是自性存在的。然后或这种呢叫做这个烦恼障。那所知障的话呢，就是说在我们认知的一切法的时候呢，所产生的这些同时产生的这些障碍哈。然后它是呢这个烦恼障呢所留下的这种比较维系的这种障碍哈，然后称为这个所知障。然后例如说所知障呢，也是会让我们把这个法呢看成独立存在的，看成是实有的，然后会执着这个实有的这个我。然后我们刚刚讲到，就是说以这两种障碍来讲，这个八地菩萨呢，它可以分为就是前者跟后者啊，那就是他们要断呢，就是这个小大，然后小中跟小小的三种障碍。那这个八地菩萨的这个前者呢，他会断除的就是这个小大的障碍。
네, 다들 지리들은 레인데 사고배 먼저 받자 말하다 나를 어디서 방그랬다. 다 지리 정어들을 달아니 채우려. 지리 정어들을 달아니 채는 라바트 사격배 받자 말하다 나를 어디서 방그랬다. 이제 방그래. 다 지리 정어 타못에 예대 받자 말하고 먼저 채웠다. 예대 받자 말하다 뒤에 먼저 채. 어디 나를 넣어서는 다 나바 던지 집이 시험을 채웠다. 다 사제로든 나바타지 때문에 저번에 사제거든. 그 사제 왜이 제대 받자마자 계진 이반들 사제를 잡아들는 왜 나오려는데 나오체래. 그들은 눈을 사제거든. 다 최다제 라티도 줄을 라자가지고 짠 체계거든.
So on the ninth Bodhisattva ground, what happened is you gain a path of meditation that is direct antidote towards the middling knowledge obstruction, the middling knowledge obstruction, and then again the small knowledge obstruction has sort of two levels, the gross and the subtle, and then on the 10th the Bodhisattva ground, you gain a path of meditation, two different counterparts of meditation in a sequence, in the same continuum, the path uninterrupted path and the path release path. Out of them, the first is direct antidote towards a gross, small knowledge obstruction, and then the later acquiring the release or the cessation of that object of negation, object of abandonment. And then after that, then you will reach a path which is called Gyude Parjemanam. Gyude Parjemanam is a last continuum, last continuum of uninterrupted path. So it is called last continuum because it is a last continuum of the mindset of a sentient being. Because after that, the next moment of that is no more mindset of sentient being, because it transforms into omniscient mind of Buddhahood. So on the level of that path, the last continuum of the path, uninterrupted path, you gain a direct antidote towards the subtle, small knowledge obstruction, and then the next moment you gain abandonment of that subtle, small knowledge obstruction. So as soon as you gain the abandonment or the permanent cessation of that the subtle knowledge obstruction, then you gained a Buddhahood, a cessation from all sort of negativities and imprints and all obscuration and obstructions, and then you gain Namatamjikimbe Ishi means a wisdom of perceiving all phenomena simultaneously, like being everything in your palm.
然后再呢，这个九地的菩萨呢，他就是去除呢，就是这个中等的这个小中的这种障碍哈，然后呢，再来就是最小的障碍呢，它又可以分为这个粗分跟这个细分哈，然后再呢继续修以后呢，这个十地菩萨呢，它也一样可以分为这个无间道跟这个解脱道。在无间道的时候呢，它会断这个小的这个障碍哈，然后它再继续修呢，它最后呢这个无间道的这个最后一刹那的这个心的相续呢，就是等于是最后一刹那的众生心的这个相续呢，因为呢当过了这个刹那哈，它断了这个小障碍之后呢，它就会就是证得这个佛果的这个一切种智哈，所以呢，在断了这个小障之后呢，就会成就这个佛的这个正等正觉的果位哈。那所以从那一刹那开始呢，就是灭了一切所有的这些不善，所有的这些障碍呀、烦恼障什么等等，全部呢，通通呢都去除了哈。然后去除以后呢，就是佛呢，他是可以同时呢认知呢三世的一切法的哈，就好像他要看这一切法呢，就好像如同在看他的手掌心一样。
对，他可能上节说那可能这他就报个，他这他就报个，这他就报个，现在他就有时做不了，他就做不他就只要了他上节就是年末别，他说年末把这西节这边你那边上那上节。西家了，陆这边的这上街的，这按照这些上的这里知道吗？也这插头这边是，也这插头这边有所做的啊，但是也这头要么谁要么，这谁要么谁要么的，这插头是谁要的？他真的说的，当年我说这个要把家把的，当年我说的把这个搞要把的。当年我说的把这么搞的，当年我说这么乱，要把家把的，要把家里都偏着，用着，感觉人呢，这搞半年了，自己都没那么家的，所以呢，这就讲最轻点，我是觉得好的，就这我是觉得，你之前我是觉得，他好像我是觉得好的，他好像我是觉得的， 这个头些从这我那的这个的，他这个要是多点的，这我就要把这些要把的，就前把他这边我是真的的。没了，这个人越把他这当三级这个这，前把他这边我是真的的。
So when you reach the state of Buddhahood, full enlightenment, so on the level of Buddhahood, you have sort of abandoned everything that has to be abandoned, and you have sort of completed, or you have acquired or assembled everything that has to be, that ought to be accumulated, or that is positivity. So on the level of Buddhahood, you cannot say that this particular sort of negativity or fault is not being abandoned by Buddha. And also on the level of Buddha, you cannot say that, oh, this particular good action or the virtuous action or good quality is not being completed. So you cannot say on that level. So on the level of Buddhahood, so because of the abandonment of everything that has to be abandoned, and the accomplishment of everything that has to be sort of accomplished, one can remain in the wisdom, directly understanding emptiness, eternally, everlasting. There is no need of sort of alternate practice of bodhicitta and wisdom, directly understanding emptiness, because on the level of Buddha, your mind is everlastingly or eternally absorbed in the meditative state that is directly perceiving emptiness, and also at the same time, simultaneously, bodhicitta, the great compassion, the practice of giving, the moral, all are also manifested simultaneously. So this is a unique, the quality belonging only to someone who has attained Buddhahood.
那再就是当呢证的这个佛陀的这个正等正觉的果位的时候呢，就是一切呢这个该断的一切这个恶或者讲障碍呢都已经断了哈，然后就是一切呢该要证得的一切功德需累积的一切善呢也都圆满的证得累积了哈。我们没有办法指出说佛陀呢哪一个这个不善或者是说过失呢该断而没有断。然后我们也没有办法说出呢这个佛呢有某一种这个善功德或该累积的这个善业他没有累积的哈，这我们都没有办法指出这样。佛呢他已经断了一切该断的一切这个不善或者是障碍，然后呢也圆满的成就了一切这个正悟跟功德哈。那所以呢佛陀呢他是不间断的呢，他时时刻刻是在这个空性的这种禅定当中，他时时刻刻都是直观这个空性，然后呢他的这个菩提心呢也都是这个不间断的哈，他的心呢时时刻刻是在空性的禅定当中呢，然后时时刻刻他的菩提心跟这个大悲心也是同时呢会显现的。那也只有成佛的这个佛呢，他才能够具有像这样子的特殊的功德。
哎呀，咱这贵呀，咱了，咱这现在不说是当年，这咱们解决这个点的啊，他真的这道贵呀，贵上去没叫把这，贵上去没叫把因为咱说这把出张给。他就为做这个菜节的，现在地球现在就靠我们家去嘛的，地球就是靠我们家去呢，为做这个菜节嘛做的，为做这个菜节嘛做的，晓得？他当然了，现在呢，也送给人的，送给人，所以要了不就得这样的，所以要了不就得这个人的当然的话的，所以要了不就得这样的，送给菜档，送给菜节有现在有那干啥？现在某个就不会在那么，现在就靠我们把给的把去嘛的。你看前面那样，三级给真的滚动摇把那些，还是三级送的，真的，干啥人，穷人容易好办的，三级滚动摇把那就过不了的，现在靠我们这把给现在真的，送菜节嘛多的，送菜节嘛多的就有的他，然后呢，他头期也在了的，这到这个前面也在，这边也在，那边也在，然后前面送也在有的他。他前面有的，他大概去把那里，三级给那把钱这样要嘛的，他就签掉了他，那把我打算走他地下签个他，最近的把签个他， 그래서 내가 챙겨왔다. 다 제일 되는 한 세자 다저는 마포지 뭐 짜와나지기 때문에 제일 되겠다. 그거는 도저히 제만 이름에 봐이 차대한다. 예. 해다마다 다저기 때문에 된다겠다. 어디는 되죠. 어디는 내배요 되는 사제를 때문에 사제기 내발을 때는 수직이 된도 매야겠다. 내발을 때는 수직이 된도 매야겠다. 다 내발 때는 하면 둬야 매야겠다. 저자 때는 체전의 소에 대가지고 투제들은 체전의 소에 대가지고.
And now, with respect to the physical qualities of Buddha, the Kuyune, physical qualities of Buddha, one is adorned adorned by the 32 sort of major marks, different kind of 32 major marks, and 80 minor marks, 80 minor marks, and then strictly speaking or generally speaking, it is said that one cannot the qualities of Buddha's physical is beyond the scope of our mental capacity, because there was once in India there was the Bodhisattva called Shukchang, means someone who embraced power. Bodhisattva called embracing power, Shukchang. In order to examine or in order to conjecture the physical, the quality of Buddha's protrusion, or in terms of his height, he flew high upward, heavenward, and he flew great distance upward, but still he cannot find the tip of the Buddha's protrusion. And then in terms of Buddha's the speech quality, the Buddha has means the 60 sort of melodious quality of his speech. Each of them I will not enumerate. And then again, once in India, the Moggallana Putra, one of the two the favorite disciples of Buddha, the Moggallana Putra, he, in order to conjecture Buddha's speech, the quality of speech, and the Moggallana Putra went traveled very far away, going beyond this realm into another so many realm away, and then listen to Buddha's teaching. And at that time, the volume of Buddha's teaching seems not to be subsided, but it is still same as the Moggallana Putra would listen being near to the Buddha. So the volume of Buddha also does not vary despite the listener, despite the distance the listener applied when listening to Buddha's teaching. And also in terms of Buddha's mind quality, it is said that there are three mind qualities. Kensei means the knowledge, the love or compassion, sewa, and the last one is power. So with respect to the knowledge, as mentioned before, he can directly see all phenomena simultaneously. He can also directly see the ultimate reality of phenomena and the conventional nature simultaneously. And then in terms of the sewa, the compassion or the love, he has reached the perfect level of compassion, like a mother having a compassion to her only dear son. So that sort of compassion the Buddha has towards all sentient beings without any discrimination. And also Kuna Tuji Nyerimeva means his tuji or his compassionate or love does not vary with respect to different kind of sentient beings. It is equally directed or distributed across the board among all sentient beings. And then Pentamata means he would benefit. Buddha would benefit despite someone who has who is good to him or who is not good to him, does not matter. So he benefits sentient beings without any discrimination. And then in terms of the power or the nuva, in fact the Buddha's power is something that is inconceivable to our mind, but his power cannot be compete by anybody. And also his power is characterized by being spontaneous or being effortless. That comes naturally or spontaneously.
那我们再来呢是讲这个佛的这个身的这个功德啊，佛的这个身的功德，事实上呢是远超过呢我们可以理解的范围的啊。佛的身呢具足这个32相跟80种这个随行好啊。然后呢这个以前呢就是印度呢有一位这个叫做大力的这个菩萨哈，他就是有这个神通力呢，他可以飞哈，飞到很高很远的这个天空当中这样子哈。他就是说他飞到这么高的这么远的这个天空之后呢，他还是没有办法看到佛的这个顶髻在哪里哈。然后再呢讲到这个佛语呢，它具足这60种功德哈。那这个目犍连呢，他就曾经呢也是用他的神通力，就是飞到很远的地方，就是已经超过了我们的这一界哈，飞到这个他方的这个世界去啊。他在那边呢还是一样可以听到佛的这个开示哈，就是说在那边所听到的这个佛的这个开示，跟在佛的身边所听到的开示呢完全是一样的哈。那这个就是佛的这个语的特殊的这个功德。那讲到佛的这个意的这个功德呢，就是佛呢，他就是具足有这个圆满的这个慈心、悲心，还有这个威力啊。然后呢，就是佛呢，他的是可以同时呢，可以见到这个圣义谛跟这个世俗二谛的。然后还有呢，就是佛呢，他对于一切这个众生呢，他都有这个像母亲对孩子那样子的那种最圆满的这种这个悲心，而且呢，对一切众生呢都是平等的，毫无分别的。然后再讲到佛的这种圆满的慈心呢，就是佛呢对一切众生都有这个平等的慈心哦，不会说因为这个对于这个不同的众生呢，而他对这个不同众生的慈心会有所差别，都是没有，都是平等的。那还有呢，以及佛陀呢，对于呢，不论是利益佛陀或者是伤害佛陀的这个两种众生呢，他也都是完全没有分别的。那佛的这个威力呢，也是一样，是我们没有办法去理解的哈。然后，而且佛的这种威力呢，也是没有人能够比的。可是呢，它是就是一种这个具身的自然的这个同时流露的。
因为当时的提拔前辈的呢，老干嘛呀，那把就是要热呢，他的呢我把上节最提拔的，去，当然我都懒得打多么久个嘛，这人呢，马上前辈什么讲究，这提拔上节的。马上全部讲给，对，给把咱们全部就个，就是等于说马上全部讲给，让人家去吧的。他等到老来看了，我说呢，他年纪公的，年纪公的，讲究谁公的，讲年纪讲究谁都是公的，他，本来9级8的像这样的，长期需要个车子了，讲年纪讲究谁公同干那个，他干了真那个，他，讲年纪讲究谁公，谁上不穷啊送个的，他讲年纪讲究谁送个，再干那个的。就是对给全部有啥玩，讲你这讲这谁国家的，给全部觉得这干了那个的，谁上不穷啊，谁上不穷是干那个的，谁上不钱的给全部有啥玩，谁上不钱吧人呢，所的这帮人干错的，虽然全部赔给啥玩，虽然全部赔给啥人，谁上不的，国内也赔，他这里讲就谁那么的，就是家长这里有啥玩的，就是这给钱全部有啥的。就是这边人都，哪能都哪能带我这里讲话的年纪长的，这种公馆的。
So we have gone through all the different stages, if not in detail, but we have gone through. I have explained all the different levels or different gradual stages of the path, starting from the accumulation and then towards the preparation and seeing, and then meditation, then towards the normal learning, which is Buddhahood. So I explained, we have gone through this, and I've explained you, but we might not be, because of given our current sort of situation, we might not be in the actual state of these different levels. We might not sort of actually engage in the practice of these different levels of path by sort of actually generating these paths within our mind stream. So we might not be doing this, but I have explained this in order to give you understanding, and also in order to implant within you a virtuous imprint. And So what now we can do, given our current situation, what we can do now as our actual practice that we can generate within ourselves is, as mentioned before, the compassion, the great compassion, the love, and especially the bodhicitta, which we can really engage in the practice of these different paths. Because the great the Master Atisha, Dipankara Shirigyana Atisha, one of the great Indian master, had ever set foot on the soil of Tibet. So the great Atisha, when he used to greet other people, like we used to greet in our typical way, saying, "How are you? How do you do?" like this, Atisha, instead of saying this, he used to say, "Have you been kind, or have you been compassionate? Have you been good mind?" So Atisha used to greet other people in this way. So this has a very significant, thing, because it shows us that however the other path may great be, but these are the sort of essential or important part which we have to cultivate from now. Otherwise, we would not reach that level. So if now we cultivate what we can actually cultivate, what is beyond, what is within the reach of our capacity, like cultivating our mind in all the practices leading to bodhicitta, and also the compassion, the love, and then in the future, gradually, there will be a time, there will be a moment come where we can actually generate the genuine bodhicitta. So therefore, I think it is very important.
那就是呢，我们呢已经就是把整个这个修行的这个所有的这个次第哈，就是全部呢讲完哈，那就是从这个五道当中的这个资粮道啊、加行道、见道、学道、无学道、这成佛果等等，这个都讲过了。那或许呢，因为我们目前的这个程度、目前的这个状态呢，我们还没有升起这些证悟哈。那但是今天会讲这些呢，就是要让大家呢能够对于这些所有的修行的这些次第呢，有一个正确的了解，以及种下呢这个善种子啊。然后就是目前呢根据我们自己的程度，我们这个阶段呢所能做的呢，就是可以呢去修这个大悲心啊、慈心、菩提心等等哈。然后就是不管呢有多少的修行之道、修行的方法哈，那这些呢这个慈悲心、菩提心呢是要点哈。那像这个阿底峡尊者呢，他有就是将他的圣足呢，就是踏入这个西藏哈。那他通常呢跟人家打招呼的这个话，例如说我们平常见到人都会问人家说你好吗？用这样的方式来打招呼。那如果阿底峡尊者呢，他打招呼的方式呢，就是问说，你今天有修这个慈悲心了吗？你有修这个善良的这个心了吗？哈，那这样子的这个问候语呢是非常有意义的哦，就是说有这么多的这个修行之道哈，然后这个修慈悲心、菩提心呢，有这个善良的这种好心呢，这个是我们要修的这个最重要的这个经要点哈。那就是说，如果呢我们虽然目前没有这样子的程度哈，那就是说，如果我们从现在呢开始去真正的去修哦，然后开始慢慢的这样子去修这个慈悲心、菩提心的话呢，慢慢的总有一天我们会真正的升起这个菩提心的证悟。
哎呀，他等于这个是最重要的，他前面讲的，前面真的是搞过错。
Again, today we have not left enough time to engage in the question and answer session. So I will leave this for the next session. So at the next session, if you have any question, you better be prepared.
那今天再次没有时间做问答哈，那就是延到下一次做，所以下一次如果你有问题要发问的话呢，就请先准备好。
哎呀，他现在搞的关系，我今天他那了，所以我就讲锻炼讲我老师真的老师。